back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live on CBS Sports Network. Big Ten Media Days, and pleased to be joined here at the desk by Penn State coach James Franklin. James, how's it going so far today? You're very used to this, but this is an 18-team league. This is a big 3-day event. How's your day been so far?
I'm in the fourth quarter of it now, and I love your energy. I gotta start by saying that. But it's been good. I do think it's exciting having the four new teams in our conference. Very different. We got Washington coming to our place for the whiteout. We're going to USC and playing the Coliseum. It's a little bit more challenging and difficult for us being one of the most Northeast teams. I don't know if all four of you guys have been to Happy Valley. It's not the easiest place to get into. It's not the easiest place to get out of. So that creates some logistical challenges for us. But in terms of the competition, the excitement, I think it's really good for college football, and I know it's good for the Big Ten.
Well, you mentioned the excitement, and we're heading into the season. Camp will be starting soon. What are you most excited about seeing from your team before the season starts as you get ready for the year?
I don't know if it's one thing specifically. Obviously, we've got a new coordinator on offense, got a new coordinator on defense because my defensive coordinators continue to get head jobs. We've been down this kind of road a bunch. But we open in a great venue. I was at the University of Maryland. We played at West Virginia a bunch of times. That's a tough place to play. They ended the season on a real positive note. There's no pro team. It's all about the Mountaineers. That's a hornet's nest we'll be walking into. I think our opening games at Auburn, even at Purdue to open the season, they were tough games. So I think those things help prepare us for this.
James, you guys use the portal some in the offseason, but we're pretty selective in doing so. To me, that has to mean you're excited about some of the guys who'll be first-year starters. Top of mind, who are the guys you're really excited to see start for the first time?
Well, I think the first thing is this. I think, number one, you probably go to the portal a lot when you lose a bunch. And we've been able to keep our roster for the most part. I think that's telling of our culture and the type of locker room we have, so I think that's positive. But then be able to go to the transfer portal almost like in the old days how people have with junior colleges. You got a weakness, you got a hole in your roster that you need to fill. We've been very strategic about it. For the most part, we've been able to go get guys out of the portal that we recruited out of high school. Chop Robinson is a perfect example. It came down to us in Maryland. He wanted to stay close to home, goes to Maryland. Things don't go the way he wants to, he comes back to us. But it's not us trying to get to know a kid in 2 weeks and make a decision to add him to our family. That's hard to do. So we've been able and fortunate to really go to the portal and get guys that we recruited out of high school. We knew their families, we knew them, we knew the type of player they were, we knew strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's been valuable. So we're going to try to continue to do that. We're not opposed to the transfer portal. We've worked really hard at putting that locker room together, and we want to be very selective about who we put in there.
When you had to make those staff hires, what did you see from the Kansas Jayhawks that attracted you to hiring Andy Kotelnicki as your next offensive coordinator?
Well, again, kind of like what I just talked about in recruiting, right? I've known Andy for a long time. I got a ton of respect for Lance Leopold and what he's done in his career. Followed him. We played him when they were at Buffalo. Followed him what they did at Kansas. I was at K-State for a number of years. What they've been able to do at Kansas is super impressive at a place that hasn't had a ton of success on the football field. But probably the biggest thing is we were really good last year, even on offense. I know people don't want to hear that, but if you look at statistics, we're pretty good. Our issue was we weren't explosive enough.
Right. And
we weren't able to score when it mattered the most against our biggest opponents. So you go and you look at Andy and you study what he's done in detail, one of the most explosive offenses in college football. But here's the other thing, not just explosive in one area. If you're just explosive in the passing game, you can defend that. If you're just explosive in the run game, you can defend that. But it's explosive in the pass, it's explosive in the run, it's RPOs, it's play action passes that look like RPOs, it's motions and shifts. What people don't realize, motion shifting is great, but it can confuse you.
Yeah.
What I mean is the whole idea on offense is how do you keep things simple as possible for the quarterback and the O-line? Well, you motion and shift, you ID the front. At the last second, a linebacker enters the box or a safety enters the box. You haven't accounted for him. The ball snapped and he's unblocked. So how do you use motion and shifts to cause stress on the defense but keep it simple on us? little option. You look at Drew, wouldn't say he's Lamar, like with the Ravens, right? I wouldn't say that. But if you watch tape last year, he made more plays with his feet than people would think. So just having a little bit of option in there to keep people honest, it changes everything for you offensively. So that's what we're excited about, the ability to create explosive plays, but do it in a ton of different ways.
You bring up Drew. Last offseason, obviously, we go into the year knowing he's going to be the starter. He has had one season under his belt. What have you seen this offseason that's different in his preparation, having gone through the wars now as the starter?
Yeah, I don't know if it's that, but it's just year two. Like the value, it's no different than coaches. Experience matters. Quarterback position, experience matters. So although he did some great things that I don't think enough people talk about, he had the second best touchdown to interception ratio in the country.
25-2.
Yeah, and no one talks about that. Like 25-2. You ask any coach in the country, would you take a 25-2 touchdown interception ratio? I think he completed his first 315 passes, which is a college football record for starting your career. So he did some really good things. I think the biggest thing is just those experiences. The games that he'd like to have back, the passes that he'd like to have back, the checks that he'd like to have passed, to be able to learn from them, be able to grow from them. The leadership role. Last year, to be honest with you, we were just focused on him being the quarterback. Don't try to be a leader, just be the quarterback. This year, being a quarterback and one of the leaders on offense, and he's done a phenomenal job. His preparation and approach has always been really good, but it's just year two.
Coach, we only have 40 seconds. You guys have a reputation for producing absolute beasts here. They kill it on the field of this combine. 9 months from now, who of your guys are going to light the combine up, potentially?
Oh, shoot. As you know, we got a bunch of those guys. That's not where my headspace is right now. All
right, top off-season performers.
Yeah, I would say there's some guys that probably, are not part of everybody's conversation right now. Aldavian Collins is a guy that had an unbelievable spring and offseason that no one's talking about, that there's a lot of excitement in the Lash building about.
He is James Franklin, head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. James, thank you so much for spending some time with us here at the Cover 3 podcast.
Thank you.
We will continue our coverage of Big Ten Media Days, and you can get the Cover 3 podcast anytime. Just scan that QR code. You can check us out live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time at youtube.com/cover3, or download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts.